Well, good morning, YouTube. If this doesn't prove my point about what I've been saying about how dumpy this fucking downtown Dayton is and how it's all a big lie, look at this right here. Pole Grill, this was an old hotel, the Dayton Grand Hotel or Doubletree Hotel. Reason why this video is so significant, looky right there across the street at fucking City Hall. So right across the street from City Hall, it's on a Sunday morning, by the way. Despite all this fucking propaganda, you hear about this fucking downtown over and over again. Yet, right here across from City Hall, we got a building that's abandoned and boarded up. So they can keep telling you all this rah-rah bullshit about downtown being so great. But the truth be known, it's not. Sunday morning right now, there's only a few people out. Look at the amount of traffic here. When I call this Ghost Town USA, and now this is like within right near here, you got at least four to six empty buildings nearby here. You got this building now. You got half of that building's empty. Half of the Mead Tower's empty. Or the Key Bank Tower. Then you got the frickin' Peru Tower, which is that building that's above the courthouse. Then you had this office space that was FedEx that closed up. And then you have this place right in front of, directly across from City Hall. You got the Paul Deneau building, that big office building next to the arcade. Then, of course, the arcade itself, they've been really trying to beat that drum really hard. But should you really have that much hope in the arcade being developed when you see all this emptiness? And you know what? You know what? The people that don't come down here, you know what? They'll have you thinking, oh, this is such a great freaking place for commerce, but it's not. It's absolutely not. Like right here, if they're stupid enough to think that could, keep people out of here, you're a dumbass. All somebody has to do is kick that door in, or take a little pair of bolt cutters and also snip at that lock. So, you know, you have this utter embarrassment. This hotel sign right up there. So, yeah, for them to be saying, oh, what a great downtown we have, but yet a building that's right next to them, it is completely vacant. So, you know what, like I said, a lot of people that don't come downtown don't see this crap. They just go by what they hear. And, a lot of people that say, oh, downtown's coming back. You never come down here. You don't know what the fuck is going on in this downtown. So, they're very ill-informed because they really don't know what the truth is on what's actually going on in our downtown. You got to come down here. As I said over and over again, most of the jobs that are down here, you have a decent amount of jobs down that way, only because those are where all the federally and the government jobs are. Like, you got the court building, you got the city building, county building, and federal building. Those are all government jobs. There's plenty of those down here, but what's lacking, as I said for years, is private sector employment, which is why you see spaces like this vacant, spaces in that building vacant, why you have places like the Peru Tower there that are completely closed down, the Kettering Tower about 70% vacant. So, and yet you wonder why the city leaders want to force the relevancy of this downtown so badly, because they can't stand to walk out their door of City Hall and have to look at all this emptiness. So they try so badly to force the relevancy of this downtown, to try and make downtown Dayton relevant with whatever they could force in here. It's, they're not building anything because there's a fucking demand, people. They're building because they're just trying to force in whatever they can by throwing any grant money or any tax money at these developers, saying, "Oh, will you please develop some apartments? Will you please do something to help the city?" So, you know, they've used this scam of downtown Dayton housing, and yet you have other boondoggle projects like the fairgrounds, the old fairgrounds, which hasn't got off the ground, and I don't know if it ever will. Then the arcade. So I'm like, why do you want to continue to... I guess they don't care if this whole downtown becomes a big living space, even though it never will. But that's the only thing they could really seem to force in here, is just apartments and condos. And of course, the building that's... one of the buildings that's right next to it, I've talked about this, the old Dayton Daily News building, over and over again in at least 3 to 5 different videos throughout the years. But ultimately, I don't know what the shape of this building's like on the inside, but it's obviously closed. But they're just going to force in, you know, whatever they can force in down here. It's kind of, look at this right here. Look at how they've done the plywood. Regular plywood, than the the black plywood that they, however much they spent on that bullshit. Then you got the arcade, which they seem to be, I haven't heard as much about the arcade the last few months, but they seem to really be hell-bent this time on getting the arcade project off the ground. I'm like, we will see. I'm just not convinced yet that it's gonna happen, you know. They've tried over the last 20 years, all these History Ohio, find it here. Well, it doesn't matter, because there's no history, any worthwhile modern history being made here. So, you know, this is what, and then this Paul Deneau building. So, you know, you got all these empty buildings, and yet they claim that there's demand. Get real, people. There is not demand. Then also, the Dayton Public Schools on the other side of this building. And, you know, I've said what's going to happen to this building is, as soon as they can get the grant money to demolish this building, it's going to be probably well over $500,000. This building's not going to get saved, people. This available crap, when they get the red tape removed and they get the historical designations removed, and they get the grant money, and they give, whenever they can convince Charles Sims to build out here, which he will, because ultimately, you know, Charles Sims, who's another front runner, who's nothing but a coward. You know, Charles Sims, he's behind a lot of this downtown Dayton development. In one of his videos that he does on his marketing page, he's built probably at least 30 to 50% of the housing project, of the housing development down here that they've used to try and revitalize stuff. Oh, he says old downtown's thriving, but yet Charles Sims lives out in the suburbs in West Carrollton. He doesn't even want to be part of the city, but yet he can champion it from the suburbs. My thing to you people is, for people like Charles Sims, if you really say downtown is thriving, why don't you fucking move back to Dayton? Why don't you fucking get your ass out of West Carrollton, get out of the fucking suburbs. Don't champion Dayton from the fucking suburbs, people. Fucking be part of the city. Don't champion it from the fucking suburbs. Be part of the city. You know, don't front run. Don't be a front runner from the suburbs. If you really say downtown's thriving and any part of Dayton is thriving, which we all know is not, put some skin in the game and live in the city. But, you know, this is what drives me to make these videos, is just the constant lies that have been spread about this downtown, but yet people don't want to deal with. You have a certain segment of people that don't want to deal with the reality and what's really going on. They don't come down here. They don't see what's going on. So, you know what? I'm going to get ready to wrap it up on this one. So, yeah. So yeah, this is what the city leaders have to see when they walk outside City Hall. And for that building over there, that hotel right across the street, to be vacant, that's just more egg on their face in their downtown, for that they have to walk out their door every day and see another vacant building. It's just more egg on their face, because it just proves to you that all these glorious things that you hear about this downtown Dayton are just not true. It still's a shithole. It's been one for the last 20, 30 years. It's probably going to be that way for the next 20 years. Until they can fix until they can fix all the issues that I've talked about over and over again in videos. You don't have to force downtown development if you make the neighborhood strong and family friendly. Get the city, you know, where the schools are good, where families want to stay here. You don't have to pander to any one or two groups of people if you would just fucking do the right thing. But yet that's all it is just lies and pandering to certain people. But I'm going to wrap it up on this one, YouTube.